All right. So let's talk. What has been your experience with change and getting movement towards your goals? You want to start off with the first question?
Hmm.
We got everyone in, hopefully. Who's got a barrier that you've encountered? No one's got barriers?
Hi, Cheryl. It's Lisa Schneider.
Hi, Lisa.
I have a hoarse voice, so I just sound squeaky. My struggle with this is we've taken all of the programs and offerings that we have at the RCAW level and identified what strategies it meets in the national strategy, but it's not happening at the state level. So the only ones who know about it is us. So the barrier is, to me, it's communication and collaboration and compiling it together on a bigger scale.
Mhm. Okay, so you've got a vision barrier, don't you? You haven't got some people that are bought into a vision that you're trying to move for, right? So
Yeah.
what would it take? What would it take to change that?
Well, a lot of education and
Yeah.
outreach and
Okay.
establishing relationships to just get people to care about our part of it and for us to care about other people's part of it so that we're all working together as a state to achieve these goals on a national level.
I would agree with you on that. Absolutely. You've got to sell the vision. You've got to get people's commitment to it. And so that you can move forward, you're really at that motivational educational phase when it comes to state people who are not on board. Now, within your organization, you probably got some movement forward that you can still make, but with the broader picture of where you want to go to, you've got a resource deficit in one way because you don't have some power players in your back corner. Anyone else got a barrier or strategy that they're encountering some resistance to?
Sure, I'll just add to that because I am Lisa Schneider's state, and I can
Oh,
agree. Hi, Lisa, and I can agree that it's like I work really closely with them and other people, and it's to get it beyond, even today before I came on here today, I just had another one of these, like, oh, somebody in our office or somebody in our department did not plan for something that I really needed. And, and even things that they say they support along the way. And then when I needed the funding for something to continue, all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't have that funding. And I just sit there and go, wait a minute, it's like, this isn't, sometimes it just feels like there's so much going on that, in all the different pots of money and all the different priorities that are coming down, that at the state level, it just feels like we're being tugged in a million different directions. And those middle managers you were talking about, sometimes I think they have a hard time balancing all that. And then when it comes to now it's time I need X, Y, and Z, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, and now ARPA funding's going away, and we're planning for all that. There's some of the funding issues that we had all this money for the last couple of years, and now everybody's pulling back. Oh no, we're not going to have enough for meals. We're not going to have enough for this, that, and respite's just another thing,
yeah.
And that's how
Limited
I feel at the
resources.
state, a little bit at the state level, is there's a little bit of readjusting going on post-COVID with that ARPA funding going
So,
on, and to get people's attention is kind of hard because everybody wants
so,
it.
so hopefully there's still enough voices that are asking for at least the next step or keeping some pieces together, the resources. But yeah, we've had resources pulled on us before too, so I know what that feels like. That is really hard. It's kind of okay, what can we do with what we've got to move forward? And okay, if we only have half of what we had before in staff or in finances or whatever the resource is, what can we do with it? So it's really going to take that. What will it take to make us, even incremental steps forward so that we don't totally lose that vision that we're aiming for? We may have to revise that vision, bring it down a little bit, given the circumstances, because we want some wins too, right? We want to have people be successful. All right, wonderful. Anyone else have a barrier that you're dealing with?
Yeah, I'm Barb Kumjian with Lifespan Respite Washington. Lifespan also convenes the statewide Lifespan Respite Coalition. And this is where we're making a change, or trying to make a change, to align the coalition with committing to some of the goals within the national
national strategy.
strategy. Yeah. And this has just started. It's very initial. The older goal of the coalition was more about supporting one another with resources and leads and cooperation. And we have I totally identify with what Lisa and Lynn have been talking about. We have the exact same problems with both resources and a need for massive outreach and education. So just saying, we will have to definitely share ideas and resources with one another, I think, as we get ideas for how to do this thing.
Yeah. Do you have a plan? Does it feel like you have a plan, Barb?
Well, the core team, the grantees in the Lifespan Respite Program, there are 4 of us in leadership positions, 2 at the state agency and 2 of us actually implementing the program through another agency. We have good ideas, but we would like to get core groups from the wider coalition to actually work on establishing a strategy. The outreach, we're going to be working on that. Actually, I have a big chunk of that to do this afternoon. As
so
you know, yeah, so
you're trying to share the vision where you want to go, plus bring in new people, players, to help.
new
So,
partners
yeah,
from we have a preponderance of like state orgs like DSHS and children and youth and developmental disabilities and sort of like all the usual players, AAAs, ADRCs. We are really throwing the net wider out to not just state and county level, but community organizations. And we're going to start a focus group of family caregivers who were not terribly attracted to the content of our last focus, and actually pay them to show up and provide us with some guidance, because our goal is to coordinate things across the state for family caregivers and respite. We're not sure we can actually increase the dollar amount going to respite care, but we are pretty sure that we can make it more obvious to people where they have a chance to go get it.
okay.
So that's
Well,
our
involving the programs, the organizations, the caregivers that themselves in what that change is going to look like is really very important. That's really a very good strategy, because you get their buy-in because they've helped to kind of create that plan, right? So that's a good strategy that way. Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you.
I think you'll find that if they're receptive, you're still selling an idea, you're still selling that vision, you're still trying to, encourage that. But I think having them involved, you get that buy-in a little bit more naturally. So that's the one small change maybe that's helping you move past your barrier. You've got a barrier, you're making focus groups as a change that you hope will bring, fruition to move forward. So, okay, wonderful. So anyone else?
Hi, good afternoon. How are you? Well, my name is Nikita Terry, and I'm with Mississippi Department of Human Services, MAC Center Director, and I work with Lifespan Respite. So prior to me coming, our director had actually made a caregiver guidebook for
Oh.
caregivers. Hopefully you can see it.
The REST
Um,
program, I can see, yeah.
Yes, a respite education toolbook for caregivers. And we had a slight issue of them coming out to receive the information. And Miss Barb, you said something, and I was like, is actually like paying them for their time, because most caregivers, their time is precious. So that was a barrier right there, to getting our vision across to the masses of what we're here to offer caregivers and give that support to the caregivers. We are now trying to find ways to get them, to corral them in, so that we can get this information to them.
So you've got a motivation issue, right? And motivating people who may know that they need to make some changes, they need certain supports, they need to have, respite resources, etc. But now their barrier is your barrier. So you're going to have to find out what their barrier is for moving forward. And that's a conversation with them. That's engaging them in some fashion. So yeah, so that you can make that next step. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And where were you with? I'm sorry, Nikita?
Mississippi Department of Human Services, Division of Aging and Adult Services.
Okay. Welcome. I haven't had a chance to meet you before, I don't think, but okay. Who else has
very
something
good.
that they're working on? What's your barriers? No
Sure.
barriers.
Cheryl, it's Dina. I was just going to actually comment on what the conversation was about, and saying that it was very effective for us. So we did hold a few focus groups, and we actually did offer them gift cards to participate. We actually have, I think, a summary report I can share that just kind of laid out, the approach we took with the focus group, but we really wanted buy-in, and we wanted the caregiver's voice in the development of our program standards under the National Family Caregiver Support Program, because we were really interested what their thoughts were about the availability of vouchers, right, for respite, because it was so effective under our lifespan respite funds. And so before we went to our network of AAAs, we felt that instead of the state just coming down and saying, hey, we're now going to allow you to offer respite vouchers, we really wanted them to, see that we engaged caregivers and that they had an interest in it, right? So I just wanted to kind of just chime in and say that I think it's both of you made great points, I think, about making sure that you are engaging the caregivers, and then, of course, getting them to use their precious time, right, in lending their opinion on these things. We did end up offering some gift cards, and it was very effective.
So, Dina, that was then after you got this group together, got their input, how did you use that then to drive your next step?
Well, we had a very long 3-year work group cross-divisionally, but in the last 10 months of the development of our program standards, we actually focused on the self-direction piece. And so we were holding monthly calls with AAAs that volunteered to participate. So we had 25 out of our 59, which I couldn't believe the number who volunteered, which I think is wonderful that they really wanted to kind of be part of the process, right? And that helped with buy-in too. But then we, kind of shared the results of the focus group, and we were fortunate because we had really good partnership with a skilled facilitator from one of our AAAs that she holds many certifications in, and she's just really effective facilitator. So she had offered herself to facilitate the focus groups, and we did a mix. I think she did one in the evening to make sure that we were engaging caregivers that were still working. And then the coalition actually partnered with us because, it was a lot easier for the coalition to be able to provide those gift cards than it was right for state government. So it was just like a total collaboration, because it was just going to be a win-win for all of us. But yeah, I'm happy to share the report, though, that'll give more details, because I know we're limited on time.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay. All right, we only have a minute. I think they were going to pull us back into the room. Any last minute thoughts?
No, I would just say from Illinois, we did a lifespan survey. And from that survey, when we started we met for the very first time in December with a statewide respite task force. and just really making sure that it really did include the caregivers and, representation from all of the different, state agencies. And so that's kind of an ongoing effort to really kind of work on the collaboration so we could all work together.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. We're going to leave the breakout room and go back to the main group.